Hey folks, imagine this for a second. You're 30 feet under the ocean, inside a giant oil pipe, and suddenly you get sucked in. No way out, no light, just pitch black water pressing in from all sides. Feels like a nightmare, right? Now, before you even have time to think, your body's out of breath. Within minutes, your chances of survival drop to almost zero. That's exactly what happened on February 25th, 2022. A crew of deep-sea divers from a company called LMSCS were doing their regular maintenance work for an oil company named Peria Oil, owned by the African government. The team, Qasim Ali, Yusuf Henry, Faisal Gurban, Rishi Nagasar, and Christopher Boothram, were underwater, working on a section of an unused oil pipe. This pipe wasn't small, man. It stretched nearly 1,200 feet long and was shaped like a giant U. It connected berth 6 to berth 5, transferring crude oil under the sea. Here's how the process works. Crude oil gets extracted from deep below the ocean floor using drilling rigs. Then, it's sent through refineries and eventually pumped into massive oil tankers floating above. That's how ocean-based oil plants usually operate. Now, divers like these guys, they're the unsung heroes who keep this system alive, maintaining underwater pipelines, sealing leaks, cleaning sections, sometimes even removing old or damaged pipe segments. That's why this crew had built a special chamber, kind of a mini underwater room, where they could safely work on the pipe. That chamber had oxygen supply and let them perform repairs without too much hassle. But on that day, February 25th, things went horribly wrong. While removing an inflatable plug from the pipeline, something called differential pressure built up, and that's when hell broke loose. Let me break that down for you. These inflatable plugs are usually placed inside a pipe to block sections during maintenance. But if you remove it the wrong way, and there's a big pressure difference on either side, the force can be brutal. Imagine this: two big water tanks connected by a pipe. One's full, tank A, and the other's only half filled, tank B. If there's a valve between them and you suddenly open it, boom. The high-pressure water from tank A rushes into tank B at crazy speed. Now picture that same thing, but underwater. If a human or any object is near that valve, that differential pressure can literally suck them in like a vacuum. That's exactly what happened here. The divers had no clue that the pipe they were working on had been drained of oil a month earlier. They thought it was still pressurized and stable. But once they pulled that plug, massive differential pressure caused a surge of seawater into the pipe, and before anyone could react, the divers got violently pulled deep inside the pipe. They didn't even see it coming. To understand how powerful this kind of suction is, just check out a real-life clip from a 2021 Taiwan incident where a man lost his life in a similar accident. That's how lethal differential pressure can be. But here's the twist. In the Peria diving incident, the divers didn't die immediately. They had oxygen cylinders with them, so they stayed alive, at least for a while. But no one knew where exactly inside that 1,200-foot pipe they were. They had no clue which direction led to the exit. The pipe had air pockets inside, spots with trapped oxygen bubbles, so the divers were scattered in different areas, each clinging to whatever little air they could find. They had no idea how bad it was, no idea that they were now fighting the clock, trapped in darkness, cold, and fear, but still, they were alive, and they were trying to survive. All 5 of them started thinking fast. They needed to find a way out, but without knowing the pipe's layout, they were lost. Finally, 4 of them decided to follow Christopher Boothram, hoping he could lead them to safety. They slowly started moving forward, but soon, the current inside the pipe got too strong. The flow of oil and seawater was pushing back violently. Qasim and Yusuf got seriously injured in their legs due to the force, but fear kept them going, fear of dying down there. Then, another problem hit. Their oxygen tanks started running low. The only way they could survive longer was by finding another air pocket. Christopher and Qasim decided to move ahead to locate one, hoping to return and guide the others. But Qasim's leg injuries got worse. He couldn't move any further, so Christopher pressed on alone. After a long, painful struggle, he reached a vertical section of the pipe, a place where he could actually stand. But now came a terrifying decision. If Chris went toward berth 5, he'd almost certainly die. The flow was too strong. But heading toward berth 6, maybe, just maybe, he'd survive. He took a deep breath and chose berth 6. By some miracle, Christopher Boothram made it. He reached the end of the pipe and started banging on it, yelling for help, shouting at the top of his lungs. People on the surface finally heard those faint metallic bangs. They rushed and used chains to pull him out. The moment Christopher came out of that pipe, he burst into tears. He couldn't believe he was alive. He was convinced his teammates would make it too, but after 3 hours inside a mix of oil and seawater, his lungs were damaged badly. He was immediately rushed to the hospital. Now, back at the site, everyone assumed the other 4 divers were dead. They thought no one could survive that long inside an oil pipe, especially since each air pocket only had enough oxygen for about an hour, and by that time, over 2 hours had already passed. But Christopher's survival sparked hope, so rescue teams were sent down to try and locate the rest. They started banging on the pipeline, and guess what? From deep inside, faint tapping sounds came back. The divers were alive, the rescue crew shouted in excitement. But despite that moment of hope, no help ever reached them. As time went on, the oxygen levels dropped lower and lower. Breathing became impossible. They waited for rescue that never came. Days passed. No one saved them. Later, investigations revealed that both LMSCS and Peria Oil didn't even launch a proper rescue operation. Some insiders claimed that a team was ready to go, but management stopped them from entering the site. When questioned, the companies said they had no legal responsibility for a rescue and no safety protocol for such emergencies. They even dismissed the divers' survival signals, claiming the banging sounds were probably just noise. That's how the entire rescue was abandoned. The Coast Guard tried their best later, but by then, it was too late. Christopher had been rescued at around 6 p.m. on February 25th. By February 27th, Peria officially announced that the remaining 4 divers had died. Recovery efforts began immediately. By February 28th, 3 bodies were retrieved, but 1 diver was still missing. Finally, on March 3rd, 2022, they found the body of Rishi Nagasar, but it was in such a damaged condition that identification took a long time. Autopsies later confirmed a chilling truth. Some of the divers had survived until February 26th, and a few may have stayed alive even until February 28th. That means they were still alive for nearly 3 days after the incident, waiting for help that never came. Because of this shocking negligence, Peria Oil was charged with corporate manslaughter. Later, investigators found GoPro footage from Qasim Ali's camera, documenting their final moments inside the pipe. And that, folks, is the terrifying true story of the Peria diving tragedy, a story of bravery, fear, and unimaginable corporate failure. If you found this story insane, make sure to hit that like button, because your one small tap helps this channel grow. And for more mind-blowing real-life mysteries, don't forget to subscribe and turn on that bell. See you in the next video. Stay curious, stay alive.